right. Well, Sophia and Owain, it's very nice to meet you both.
You too. How are you?
Yeah. So I'm wondering first and foremost, how familiar were the both of you with the Lord of the Rings and the world of Tolkien before starring in the show?
I was not familiar at all. I'd seen the movies indirectly through a housemate back in college just a few years ago. She used to watch the movies and absolutely loved them all the time, and I was kind of indirectly around and watching them kind of by force and supporting her. But and then I left it alone. I never watched them. I was never kind of introduced in any way to the books or anything. So this was a whole fresh fandom for me.
Yeah, and for me, the films were my introduction to Tolkien, and I do remember when they came out being blown away by how epic they are, and still to this day, they were on telly not long ago. Actually, The Hobbit was on telly not long ago, and I watched it, and I found myself like, oh yeah, let's watch this moment. Maybe I'll learn something new. When you do, especially when you have an invested interest in it. And I just watched it from whatever it was to the end of the movie. So it's kind of that was my introduction. Obviously now, I've dived in a bit deeper, and I'm by far from being an expert on this, but I know a thing or two about dwarves now. That's for sure.
And how expansive were those Khazad-dûm sets when you walk into this environment? What was it like to work in such a massive environment and scale and scope?
Well, funnily enough, my first introduction to it was I wasn't in costume. It was just, and they weren't really lit like you see them on the TV. Patrick, I think, walked me on, and I think they captured it as well. There was a film crew behind me, and the first time I saw it was the kind of the pinch me moment of, oh my life, I'm in Lord of the Rings. It was that just seeing the artistry that had gone into it, the time and the effort, the sheer scale of it. You couldn't be anywhere else other than Middle Earth. And then when you put lighting and fire and supporting artists in there and an elf, then you kind of go, wow, this is magic. And that's, I think the expanse of the set was absolute magic.
Yeah. And Sophia, what about you?
Exactly the same. I mean, look, Owain said it so articulately. Like, I think the level of detail, the level of tapestry, Tolkien tapestry that is within these sets, you can't tell what's real and what's not. Between a rock that's real, because there was a hell of a lot of real material around us, to something had been formed that built, you have no idea. It's kind of a game that you play of. Is it the real one?
Yeah.
Is it,
fake or real?
Fake or real. And knowing that our vision, our kind of story was those incredible like angles and the linear lines, and everything was measured impeccably. And you were just completely transported. And the first thing I saw was our home.
Yeah.
And I've never felt more home. And once we'd worked out who and what the dwarves were, to put us in that scenario, it just felt like the worlds colliding was like nothing I'd ever experienced in my life. And the level of detail and dedication to every single angle on that set and on all of the sets of Middle Earth was extraordinary.
So in this season, the arrival of Elrond in Khazad-dûm is a very pivotal moment in the series that will change a lot between Prince Durin's relationship with his father specifically. But I would like to ask if you can both talk about how you wanted to paint this strong friendship between Durin, Disa, and Elrond.
We started off on the right foot, basically. We hit it off immediately, the three of us. So we were instantly at ease with each other, and I think the nature of the first time we see Elrond and Durin and Disa together meant that there had to be a lot of gaps to fill, because obviously Durin and Elrond. I'm not sure the writers knew that we were going to be that close to each other, but we just discovered that we were. You know, that they must have been through something quite life-changing together to form that bond, because you know we're not supposed to be friends, you know, in traditionally speaking. And that kind of so that Rob and I were able to explore that. We actually did go on a little adventure together and did that. We spent loads of time together in each other's apartment and spoke loads about how they love each other, how much passion do they have, who, you know, who's the boss at various times, and how we see each other, how, you know, we lean on each other at different moments. So there was I've personally not worked so hard on an approach to a role from the beginning as I have done on this show. So really exciting to be able to do that, and also to play a different being, you know. That's what's great about the world that we're creating, is that it's not normal life. You can't pick up the phone and dial 911. You know, it's completely different, and being a different being, and getting to play that role was a gift in itself, and being able to explore the differences between a dwarf and an elf again was another layer that we can add on. What does Durin like about Elrond? What does Elrond like about Durin? What do they not like? What irritates them? You know, all of those gaps, all those questions that form a friendship and a relationship. I think we covered a lot of it before we even got onto set. Sorry, I've said lots.
It's good.
Sophia, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think in terms of I mean, Owain said it in such detail. I think first and foremost, the friendship between Owain, Rob, and I is really, really strong. We're going to see it in a couple of weeks, aren't we?
Yeah.
So that basis, that foundation, the first opening scene that you see, that dinner scene that you see, was rehearsed. Probably the longest. I'm sure we broke a record of being the longest rehearsed scene ever in terms of what we did, the work that we did, because we worked on it for about a year. Because by the time we actually shot it, it was about a year to the day that we arrived, and that was the scene that we had in front of us. That was what we knew. So we worked it and worked it and we worked it, and we worked on backstories. Where does Disa sit with it? Disa loves Elrond because she sees the love that Durin has for Elrond. You know, she sees the gap that needs filling. He needs to come back for Durin to feel that happiness and to have his best friend back. But also there is an ambitious side to Disa that we know, and she is fighting for a more liberal Khazad-dûm at the moment, we see in season 1. And so she knows that not only does it serve the happiness of her husband, but it also serves the allyship of the elves and the dwarves, serves a really important purpose for the kind of survival and evolution of Khazad-dûm. So I think that is where she really fights for that triangle to work.
Awesome. Well, it was really great talking to you both today. Congratulations once again on season 1. I wish you all the best on season 2, and I hope that you have a very, very good rest of your day.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.